Hello, everyone.
Hi,
Let's
everyone.
just wait for everyone to settle down first. Hello, hello. How are you guys? You guys doing fine? Have you had your dinner?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, thank you. For starting,
Actually, I'm
and
a
I
little bit hungry. Is there food? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, please eat. Please.
yeah. To those in YouTube live, also hello everyone. Thank you for joining in. Hello, Max. Hello, Dangeline, and hello, streamers clip in YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Okay, let's start. Let me share my screen first. Oops. Let me know if you can see my screen now. Yeah, that's. Hello, everyone. Hello, good evening, everyone. We have Faisal from Cyberjaya. Where do you guys come from? You can put in the chat box where you guys come from. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, Ilham from Indonesia. So I guess tonight we have those in Malaysia, Indonesia, and also Philippines. Yeah, a lot of Philippines. Aside from these three countries, do you have anyone from Vietnam or India or Pakistan, perhaps? Hello. Okay, let me just start first. Please be reminded that along this mentor class sessions, please feel free to open up your camera. If you have any question, just raise up your hands and you are welcome to unmute yourself and speak directly to our mentors. Okay? Okay, so hello everyone, I'm Marissa from FutureLab. So I believe that there's a lot of you doesn't know what is FutureLab and what do we do. So we are actually a social enterprise where where we aim to make mentorship accessible for everyone. We believe that regardless of your background, your status, your education, everyone deserves a good resources to have a very meaningful career journey, right? And we have impacted more than 50,000 mentors and mentorship sessions. We have done a lot of mentorship sessions, not only in Malaysia, also in Indonesia, Singapore, and Philippines as well. And we have various mentors coming from Grab, Google, Deloitte, and all of these mentors are willing to help you, just like our mentor today, which is Marissa. Actually, she is the manager of Mutant Communications. So Marissa, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for coming. I was fortunate enough to do a lot of PR work in the region, and I love the Philippines. I love Indonesia. I love Vietnam as well. So I'm saying hi to all of you. I can't wait to go back. Nice to meet everyone.
Okay, so I believe that Marissa is ready, and I believe that everyone's ready as well. So Marissa, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. It's so nice to meet you. I've never had a Zoom room this full. So I'm only minimally nervous, but I think let's get to it. Let me quickly see where my slides are. Okay, excellent. I hope everyone's doing well. And if you guys are hungry or anything like that, please feel free to have a snack as we go along. So I think quick introduction from me. So today we're going to be talking about ChatGPT for copywriting in particular, and sort of mastering the tool before the tool masters us. And I think just to clarify what we'll be going through today, I'm not a machine learning engineer. I'm not an AI developer. I do have some experience working in technology and working with technology companies, but I am a communicator by profession. I'm a PR manager in particular for a communications agency called Mutant. I'm also a bit of an award winner, but this is not so much a personal flex as it's a bit more of a kind of an inspiration to you guys. Future Leader Awards and Rising Star Awards, these are all under 30 awards. So if you guys work hard enough and leverage all these new technologies, maybe this is coming for you guys as well. But I think let's jump right to it. I have also a list of questions that people have already submitted, but you can just spam the chat box and I'll do my best. Although if all 100 of you go at the same time, it might be a bit difficult, but let's see how we go. All right. So I think just jumping right in. So ChatGPT is a pretty hot topic right now. I think it shows up on my Google alerts all the time. And, what does it really mean for communicators in particular, right? So, I can pop in a short description. Essentially, it can revolutionize how communications professionals work by improving content creation, including data analysis and customer engagement. That would be more for the marketing side. Its natural language generation capabilities create high quality content, while real-time data analysis provides insights into trends and sentiment. While that might all sound well and nice and all-encompassing, it really should, because this was also written by ChatGPT. So essentially, I keyed in a prompt and ChatGPT gave me the description. So we'll go into how exactly we work with ChatGPT for copywriting a bit later on in my presentation. But what does ChatGPT actually mean for copywriters? So I know a lot of you study communications, and I think no matter what you study, writing copy is really, really important. When we look at copy, we're not just looking at blog posts or newspaper articles or anything like that. I think on a day-to-day, if you're a consultant or in any kind of work, you write emails when you're still studying, you write emails to your lecturers, you write briefs, and, you write essays and things like that. So I think, looking into what ChatGPT is, it's gotten a lot of fame very recently, and it is a more sophisticated chat tool. But it isn't the first AI tool. So there's also writer.com and there's Jasper AI, which, marketing professionals and content creators have actually been using for a few years already to kind of refine and optimize and automate parts of their copywriting skills. And I think, if we've ever been tasked to write something, you get a lot of this writer's block, or, you sit there and you stare at the page and like nothing's coming. But as soon as you have the first couple of sentences out, suddenly, the piece just flows. So I think this is really what these AI tools are really helpful with, right? ChatGPT, however, is really making waves. And I think it's also something about the market kind of being ready to accept a tool like this and the way that communications is digitalizing and changing. Obviously, ChatGPT was covered by The Guardian and wrote an editorial piece, which was really interesting to read, although in my personal opinion, a little bit morbid if you talk about, a machine kind of introducing itself and comparing itself to a human. That being said, from a quality perspective, the editors of The Guardian did say that it took less time to copy edit this written piece than many opinion pieces sort of generated or written by humans. And what does this really tell us? I think, when humans add their own human element into it, everyone has their own specific flavor. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's more that when The Guardian says that, there's an echo somewhere. Okay, sorry, we're good. So what it really means is that ChatGPT might be better at preparing sort of cohesive, coherent, and grammatically correct content versus a human who might be adding, their own voice into it. And if you're writing for a publication, or if you're writing for a brand, it needs more editing work to ensure that it represents the brand voice, right? That being said, Coca-Cola recently announced that they'll be using, ChatGPT in addition with other AI tools in their upcoming marketing campaigns. So all this being said, where does this really leave us as, people working in communications and copywriting and all things like that? Let me quickly move this. Okay, I tried to be cool. So instead of calling it the do's and don'ts, I called it the yays and nays of ChatGPT. I also learned some Gen Z speak this week, and it goes with what it gives and what it doesn't give, or something like that. So I think on the green side, what can ChatGPT actually do, and what are sort of the assets and the limitations? Again, from a very copywriting perspective, right? Can I quickly check in? Is everyone cool? Are you following? All good? If I can get some yeses or nos in the chat as we go along, always good. I think so far we should be cruising. I think, so what can we do, right? ChatGPT is really, really excellent. I love seeing all these thumbs up. Thanks, guys. It makes me feel good. In terms of what can ChatGPT do really well when it comes to copywriting and content creation. Generally, idea generation and brainstorming is really, really good with ChatGPT. When you sit there and you look out the window and, you want to write something, but nothing's coming, it's really good to, key in a prompt to ChatGPT and be like, hey, what are some trending topics at the moment? I want to write something about dog training, or I want to write something about, content creation, social media. And then can you give me some ideas? That's what ChatGPT is really useful for. Research is good as well. It's like, can you help me, figure out this? Or can you extract, if you pop in a research paper, can you help me extract certain data points? Or can you help me analyze these? What does this mean? Text editing and writing. I use this a lot, actually. Sometimes you just kind of write a press release or you write an email, but you look at it and all your points are there, but it doesn't really sound right. And I'm not sure if this is, I'm pretty sure that this has happened to all of us before. When you write something and you've looked at it 10 times and you can't even tell anymore if it's good or bad, or, you need someone else to kind of look at it, you can throw this into ChatGPT and ask, the software to kind of edit it and write it down and edit it down. Or you can even, summarize written materials. And you can also change perspective of text. I find that really helpful. Sometimes I write something in third person, she did this and they did this, but I can just have them edit the whole text from a first person perspective. And that saves a lot of time, depending on the kind of content that you want to create. For our social media warriors out there and, our content creators, caption generation, you can kind of throw in a topic and be like, hey, can you turn this into like an Instagram caption in 50 words or anything like that? Really, really good. When we look at the nays of ChatGPT, or what the software doesn't give, I think, we need to look at solving complex problems. So always keeping in mind that, ChatGPT is deriving its information from information that's already available, right? So the issue is that it doesn't really understand nuances, and we have this point in point 3, it doesn't understand context or sentiment, right? So solving a complex issue could be an issue in itself because it might not get the contextual accuracy of it, right? Obviously, because ChatGPT is powered by all the information that's already available, it doesn't provide original insights and solutions. So even though it might be, if you ask a question, the answer might be phrased nicely, or it might sound really intelligent in that sense. I think it's important to note that none of these insights are actually original, and someone has said it before. And all for looking at our communicators, marketers, and PR professionals in particular, we thrive on creating content that is original and out there, and we do a lot of thought leadership in that sense, where we provide original opinions. So this is something that ChatGPT can't do for you because it doesn't have its own ideas, right? It doesn't have 100% information accuracy rate either, simply because a lot of information can be very nuanced, right? So if we key in the prompt in a way that we think is right, but the machine in itself doesn't recognize as accurate, it might kind of spit out something that sounds good to us. And I think there's a problem with a lot of things that come back from ChatGPT. They sound really intelligent and they sound really good, but always fact check, always check for context. And, always make sure that you do give your human eye and just really see, does this make sense in the situation that I will be applying it? And it also doesn't really work as a search engine. I had this in one of the questions, actually. Someone said that they wanted to look for research papers. And I love this question so much because, this has happened to me, and this has happened to people I know. We were looking for research links. Can we get a report on this, this, and that? Or can I get a news article on this, this, and that? And it generates the report, or it generates the link to the news article, but when you click on it, it actually doesn't exist. So it doesn't really work as a search engine like that per se, but there are kind of expansions of this as the technology evolves. Let me just quickly check the chat if anything's coming in. Oh, okay. Actually, if I can quickly address a comment, a question in the chat from George. I think, what's your take on using ChatGPT in academic scholarly outputs and in creative writings? I think this is exactly what I talk about. So if you write scholarly and academic outputs, don't use it to cite, to like look at reports and kind of cite or look for something that you can cite, because it might not exist. I think look into it if you want to kind of summarize your content, or if you have like a brain dump and you have a bunch of bullet points, you can plug it into ChatGPT to, you know, summarize it. Or if you have like 300 words worth of text and you need only, you know, 200, or if you have 200 words of text and you need 800 on the topic, then, you know, you could kind of look into doing that. But also remember that none of this is original, right? So it's always a reference. Same for creative writing. I think there are a lot of questions about ethics when writing with ChatGPT. I wouldn't recommend, and again, I'm not a legal expert either, but I think from just a, you know, a moral point of view and the way that we use it in the communications industry, like never use it sort of wholesale, right? If you write an article, do put your own spin on it, do put your own flavor on it. And I would highly also recommend chucking it into a plagiarism checker, just to make sure that ChatGPT didn't just copy off, you know, one piece of writing from someone else and you change 3 words, but later on someone's like, hey, this is my book, or anything like that. Okay, I saw a question from YouTube as well. And Max, can I get into you a little bit later? Because I think we'll address it into like how to use them. And I understand your pain in this. Yeah, so I'll just bookmark this for a little bit later. So I think moving on in my presentation, if my slides will let me, I wanted to talk a little bit more in terms of how to make ChatGPT work for you and what the more practical applications are. And again, this is more for copywriting, whatever copy you might be writing. So like, how do we harness the best of ChatGPT, right? I think when it comes to content creation in any like way, shape, or form, it's always good to leverage technology to be a better writer and communicator. A lot of traditional writers, they take a lot of pride in sitting in a hammock somewhere, you know, with their pen and paper and letting, you know, the universe inspire you, which is also a great approach and works for some people. However, looking at copywriting in a profession, if you're a marketer, if you're a content creator, if you're a blog writer, even if you're a student, you know, we don't really have the time to sit and let inspiration hit us in that sense and let the words kind of come to us, you know, as we manifest them. So in terms of efficiency, you know, we do want to leverage technology where we can. This goes into my second point, which goes into, you know, automating processes. This is something that we see across all aspects of a business, digitalization. You know, we hear this all the time, Industry 4.0, literally automation is everywhere. And it's always good because copywriting is such a human like aspect of the work. You know, you are your own people and you're penning down thoughts and you want to connect to the other person, right? So there isn't that much that we can automate because the word still kind of needs to come from us. However, ChatGPT does help us automate these prompts, and it helps us automate these revisions and these grammar checks and these perspective changes and summarizing. And that's really like, if you are tasked to write, if you're a content writer and you need to turn out 4 blog posts a day, this is really, really helpful. And it's always, you know, it's really important to just automate these little bits that you can. Next thing, be more engaging. And I think this is across all communications. No one wants to write something that seems boring to someone else, right? Sometimes we write our own content and we look at it and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so boring. And I just wrote that and it bores me. But at the end of the day, we want to be engaging. So you have to be engaging to yourself. You have to be engaging to your reader. And ChatGPT really helps in that sense. And you can even plunk in a piece of text and be like, hey, make this more engaging. But maybe don't say hey because it's not a person, but we get into that in a little bit later. Also scaling your output. And I think this goes back into being a communicator by profession. If you work in marketing, if you work in PR, if you work in any sort of like content creation, even if you work in sales, I imagine you want to scale your output. You have a lot to do and you want to make sure that you can do much more and you have a bigger output in a short amount of time. So ChatGPT can help with that. If you can automate certain processes and, simplify certain processes and just give some workload, to the bot, then, you'll be able to scale what you essentially achieve in the day itself. Speaking of chat, let me just quickly check. Oh, I got a really long question. Sorry, guys, when you send in your questions, can you maybe keep it to one line? Or maybe if you open ChatGPT in another window and just ask them to summarize that question, it'll be a lot easier to go through. But I will read through that in a minute and then I'll get back to you later. So all the long questions, I got you. I just need like 5 minutes to like browse through them, okay? Okay, moving on in my presentation. So how do we get started, right? And I think just giving you some examples on what to type in, and in the sort of submitted set of questions, people were asking, what do I do? Or what can it do? Or do I need to be technologically savvy to use it? And it's a pretty simple interface. You just kind of have a text box and you key in a prompt, right? So I wanted to give you some ideas on how to best just get started. And I think this is also something, if you haven't used it yet, just, play around, right? You can look at data storytelling. This is like a little bit more advanced. So, my friend earlier who talked about academic writing, you can plug in a research report and ask them to run it and share trends for like the storytelling based on a research report. Something else, contract drafting, run a piece of content. And actually, this is really good. So if you work with, let's say you work with Apple, right? There's a specific brand voice that Apple would use for all of their content. Everything you read is like, ooh, this is Apple. It has like that Apple, like vibe to it, right? So if you work professionally, as a marketer, as a copywriter, you might be working with multiple brands at the same time. And believe me, I do this every day. I have a bunch of clients and it can get really convoluted in terms of maintaining the brand voice and, maybe for the non-working people, the vibes of the piece, right? So you can actually plunk this in and be like, hey, does this piece of text sound like, all the other text on this website? And it can help adjust for that. Also get inspired. This is one of my favorite things. I do this almost every day. For me, I write news articles most of the time and I write press releases since I'm a PR consultant. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to write and nothing's coming. And sometimes I'm like, hey, what would be a potential news headline for, XYZ? Or if I'm writing on financial trends, what's a catchy headline for this situation? So this is also really good. And even though sometimes I don't really have, something too concrete to go with, if you key in a couple of prompts, if you key in your first prompt, you'll get some ideas from ChatGPT, and then it starts like sparking this creative flow in you. And then based on the answer that you can get back, you can be like, hey, maybe change it up from this angle, or could you elaborate more on this? Or could you give me more headlines that are more like this? And, the more you can also ask it to give you a full text. And before you know it, you have a full blog post in 10 minutes from nothing, right? The last thing that I think a lot of people might not know is you can actually use ChatGPT to generate content campaigns. So essentially use it to inspire your creative copy, headlines, and campaign concepts defined with like marketing data. So you can plonk in, reports, and you can kind of plonk in your own data that you have or any information that you have. And you can ask it to generate copy and headlines and creative concepts based on the data that you share. And this is such a time saver because essentially what it does is it analyzes for you and it does the brainstorm for you. And based on past experience that it has on the web, it sees what kind of works and what doesn't work. So this is actually super, super helpful. Let me creep up to the chat again. Oh, I love it. So it says this question has been rephrased and shortened by ChatGPT. There we go. I love a good application. How to improve ChatGPT's Arabic translations for high quality and what is currently available on Google Translate. Oh, this might be the only thing that I don't know how to do. I think when it comes to translations, I'm really not fluent on what ChatGPT's capabilities are, but Rochelle, if you want to add me on LinkedIn or something like that, we can figure it out together. And I'd be keen to know. It's just that I work in English. So everyone, if you have questions that I can't answer now, we can start a little huddle. I'm not sure if like FutureLab is going to be mad for recruiting my own sort of little cult here, but I'm so sorry I can't help with that right now, but I will see what I can do afterwards. Okay. Perfect. I think let's move on a little bit more. Okay. So I think just going back into what we had earlier. So looking for like asking about the prompts, right? So if you remember my description from the first slide earlier, this is how I got there, right? So essentially my prompt was, what does ChatGPT mean for communications professionals in less than 70 words? I do want you to know that this was my 5th attempt because I was like, can I have it with 3 key points? And then it was way too long. And then I was like, can I have it in less than 500 words? Turns out 500 words is a lot. And then I went it down to 300 words and it was still too much. And as you can tell, 100 was also too much. So this is 70, right? But what it really does is, you know, the more you play around with it, the easier it becomes to use. Like you learn the capabilities and you learn the limitations. And I would also try, if you have some time, to play around and just rephrase your questions and see how the output changes for a very similar prompt with slightly different wordings. But I would say, remember that ChatGPT is not a person. And I'm not sure if I'm the only one who would face this problem. And if anyone wants to raise their hand, if you feel like me, if you've used a chatbot and it sounds way too human, I start becoming really polite with it. I'm like, can you please, or hey, or thank you. Obviously, it's a chatbot. It doesn't really need all that, but it sounds so real sometimes that I try to be polite. But what I really want to say is, remember that it's not a person. So it doesn't get nuances. And, you know, the human touch kind of gets lost in translation. So what you really want to do is not be like me and not treat it like a person. So be clear, be direct, and specific for best results. So if you would like some inspiration on a dog training manual, I'm not sure why I'm into dog training today, but I think let's just go with it. You could write something like 10 points or maybe table of content of 10 items for dog training manual. And it will give you exactly that. And I wish I would have done that to show you a sample in the slides. But again, if you want to hit me up on LinkedIn, we can work it out together. But essentially, you know, always be very, very clear. 3 reasons why you shouldn't surf in the summer. I don't think that makes sense. But, you know, anything like that, just be very, very clear. If you need, you know, a description on the new iPhone in 300 words or less, you know, these kinds of things will get you really, really accurate results. Okay. Oh, I love it. I have people in the chat telling me that they're asking how, that they asked how ChatGPT is going and thank them for their services. Great. Thanks, guys. That makes me feel a lot less lonely. Okay. If we have a bit of time, and I can't see the FutureLab people, so I'm just going to assume we have. If anyone wants to try typing in their prompts into the chat or something that they would prompt for ChatGPT, I can look at, you know, 5 or 10 like real quick. And oh, hi, FutureLab. Oh, I actually love reading your experiences. But yeah, if you have any like test prompt, or if you want to quickly type in a prompt into the chat, and you know what, if you want me to check if this is a good prompt or a bad prompt, then we can also work it out. So I'm just going to give you 10 seconds to do that while I figure out my slides. You can also message me directly, and then maybe we can go through it in a little bit. Okay, let me just move on, and then later we can look at your prompts. Okay, so I think, you know, kind of coming to the end of what I wanted to talk today, right? So with all this being said, with ChatGPT's ability to write pretty decent content, to automate a lot of processes, to you know, do some research for you, where do we actually stand in terms of the technology, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, communication has evolved and changed, and anyone who's studying communications in any shape, way, or form, you will always learn, your lecturers will always say communications is constantly evolving. And if you study PR, you're going to learn that media is always evolving. And if you're in marketing, it's like marketing methods and campaigns are always evolving, right? So this is not and this is again my personal opinion, but ChatGPT is not the disruptor that it seems to be for copywriters in particular. It's just an upgraded version of a lot of things that are already in place. And I'm not saying that it's never going to be that way. I think it has the potential to grow into something, that's really, really competitive with the kind of work that we do. But for right now, it's not yet man versus machine, right? So as it is now, it lacks the ability to think on its own and add the human touch. And that is really what sets communicators apart. And when you look at great writing, you don't like to read like these generic news articles. Everyone who reads articles when you go to the Atlantic, or if we go to the New York Times, anything like that, Rolling Stone, we love these like stories that have a personal touch. They really move us, right? And it's not that the story is moving, it's that the person who tells the story makes you feel something. And that is something that's inherently lacking. So you can ask ChatGPT to add feeling to it, but in itself, it doesn't have feeling and it doesn't have that human nuance, right? So it's not man versus the machine, but it comes down to who communicates the best amongst us. And looking at, you guys, and if you're looking to get your first job, or if you're looking to get your second job or your 10th, the real thing is here, you're not competing with the machine right now. You're competing with all the other talents in your pool vying for the same job or the same promotion, right? So ultimately, it comes down to who best masters these tools. They are an asset. They're not yet your competition, but they can help you, right? So if you can really learn how to make these things work for your advantage, you'll be quicker than other candidates. You'll be more efficient than other candidates. Your work will have less error than, your other colleagues and things like that. And that's what will eventually really help you and set you apart, right? So if you can really use these tools properly, and this goes beyond ChatGPT, any tools that you can use to really help you, be better at your job, be more efficient, it's really going to help you kind of project your career in a sense. And that's what, ChatGPT is all about in this particular context. Whew. Okay. I'm going to have a glass of water, but, I think next up are the questions. So I'm just going to, it's going to sit back for a second.
While Marissa is taking a break, everyone also can take a break. I'm going to share my screen for a little while. Where is it? Yep. Okay. So as I mentioned before, we are actually a social enterprise where we aim to impact on giving back to more people. So if you want to be a part of our mission, you can support us by actually getting mentorship credits. For today, we decided to give a special price, which is 2 for 50 ringgit. So you can speak to any mentors that you want, including Marissa itself. So to those who are new with us and doesn't know how our platform works, so basically works like a Grab food or like an Uber food. Just that the difference is you're not choosing food, but you're choosing mentor to speak to. You can just scan here if you wanted the special price. And also, this QR code will be the feedback form. So please be reminded that if you need an e-certificate, you need to submit the QR code. You need to submit the feedback form and also participate in 3 mentor class with us. Okay, I will put in the link in the chat box as well. Yep. And I guess we can continue with the Q&A, Marissa.
Sorry, I'm already like hard in the chats. Thank you. I've received a couple of the questions, and that's really good. And I think We had one question coming in from YouTube. So if I quickly want to address that, because I'm not sure if you can see me, or like see the chat, I think, yeah, like King Richmond, you asked me if this was a good prompt, right? So what's the difference between skills and competencies? What's the skills framework? So in case you couldn't see my answer in the chat, I would suggest that you keep it to one prompt, like one question at a time. Or you can try both ways. You can try the prompt that you have, and then you can also break it up, right? And see which kind of result is closer to the result that you were looking for, if that helps. I saw a couple of other prompts, and I saw Faisal using ChatGPT to do your solo acting script. And if you could tell me how that went, you know, and if you were satisfied with the results, that would be really, really helpful. I have a bunch of questions that people already submitted, but I wanted to ask the people who are tuned in live, like if you want to ask any questions, there's some in the chat, but you can talk to me. I'm quite nice. I think you're allowed to unmute yourself. So if anyone has a question, please go ahead. Are you shy?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm not sure, but I've been trying to use two different platforms for ChatGPT. I think I sent it here in the chat. Hold on.
Let
So
me
I'm not sure what's the difference between the two platforms. Or hold on, I'm gonna scroll back and reply to my.
Sorry, I'm so sorry if I missed it.
No, it's okay. Okay, here. So I don't know if it's this will come up. So so what's the difference between the platform that? How do I? Okay, I'll just replace this
Okay,
one.
yeah, I just saw it. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, because I think the first one, because it's all by the same developer, right? But I believe that the platform is a less advanced version. Have you played around with both of them?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And how was your experience? I would assume that the second one, like the chat, would have been a little bit more satisfying, right?
Yeah. The other one's a little bit limited. So I'm just curious. I mean, are they still developing the first one, or I don't know which one? Just trying to learn all in all which one should be better. I mean, of course, the first one, when I tried it, it gave few good results. I mean, good results in general, but yeah, I haven't been into using it that much, so I can't really say how different is it from each other. So does that mean that you use the second one more than the other one?
Yeah, I think for sure. And I know that the ChatGPT that we use now is also not like a final version. I know that they're developing more. I can't tell you what the technical difficulties are because I'm just a humble user. But I think, you know, when it comes to these things, what I would say, and this is not ChatGPT or platform or anything like that, you know, what I would say is that try different platforms, whether you want to work with Writer, you know, like AI, if you want to work with Jasper AI, if you want to use with ChatGPT, you know, whatever it is, I think the ground rule is fact check everything and proofread everything and check everything for plagiarism.
Right.
Because just because ChatGPT is like the latest version or the one that everyone's hyped about, doesn't mean that you might not be more comfortable using Jasper AI, right? So I think try all the platforms, you know, you can key in best AI softwares for copywriting, try everything out, see whatever is free, you know, and see what you're more comfortable with and what gives you the more satisfying results. Maybe something else that's not ChatGPT responds better to the kind of prompts that you're giving, or maybe you prefer a different interface. So at the end of the day, you know, use whatever makes you comfortable, and whatever is better for me might not be better for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, so many questions. Oh gosh, guys. Okay. I love how you're answering your own questions, guys. So I think there was also something around if I can look into, so yes, there's a limitation as to you know, the information that's available on ChatGPT. And I think, Mark, you just asked the question, right? So if I have to worry about plagiarism with the outputs of ChatGPT, I actually have a lot of questions that go around plagiarism. And I think there's a lot of questions that came through about ethics that are kind of asking the same thing here. So I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but I wouldn't recommend taking like anything that comes out of ChatGPT like wholesale, right? You can ask it to draft something and things like that, and you can even ask it to make sure it's not plagiarized. But I would still go in and, you know, even micro edit the piece and also just run it through a plagiarism checker. I think Joyce, you asked if I recommend a plagiarism checker. I think I don't want to like advertise anything. But personally, you know, we use, Twitter is good. You know, we use Grammarly at my workplace. So wait, let me rephrase that. We don't use Grammarly at my workplace. I use Grammarly on my own within my workplace. So I think, again, like, you know, most plagiarism checkers are pretty much accurate if you are really like super highly concerned. You know, then I would say, you know, use another plagiarism checker. But at the end of the day, anything that's more than, you know, sort of 10, 15, 20% plagiarized, I wouldn't be personally comfortable bringing that out into the public. I think some phrases like up to 5%, you can't really avoid it, especially if you're speaking about a certain topic, they can only be described in that way. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think just look at what works best for you and what you're comfortable with. But when it comes to ethical issues in that sense, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not sure what the rule is, but on a personal level, you know, just make sure that you're not copying anyone else's work and, you know, try and keep it under like 15% if possible. Oh, we have some tech experts here. I love it. I'm learning so much as well. I'm going to address more of the copywriting questions. I think, do we have any more questions that anyone wants to ask? Okay, I think since if anyone wants to talk, please raise your hand or just unmute yourself. But there was a couple of things that I also wanted to cover. And since I'm assuming that there's a lot of questions about how to get started as a copywriter, how to get a job and how to sort of implement ChatGPT as you're writing. And I would say that if you are looking to eventually work as a writer and as a copywriter, and also be mindful that we're at FutureLab here and, you know, we're looking to eventually place everyone in the workforce. Before you get a job, you should build your portfolio and you should be publishing your thoughts in terms of blog posts on your own blog, on LinkedIn or anything like that. And that will eventually help you land a job as a copywriter because you'll get more experience, you'll find your voice and things like that. And ChatGPT can help you with this. So if you don't have, for me, I'm very fortunate. I work in a nice agency. I can have my team, a team of editors and journalists, copyright my work, even though I should be able to write it and copy edit most of it myself. But if you don't yet have a team and if you're not yet employed, but you want to build that portfolio, ChatGPT can be a copy editor. If you want ChatGPT to check, hey, can you proofread, you know, my blog post of 500 words? Can you cut it down? Can you make sure it's, you know, accurate in terms of grammar and things like that? That's something it can really help you with. And the more content you create, the more likely you are to eventually get a placement as a copywriter in a job if you have a strong portfolio. So I think that's something that I just wanted to address. I saw like some unmutes and like some, you know, video turn ons. Does anyone want to ask anything? Okay, I think.
Hello.
Yes, hi. Hi, Faisal.
I just want to share my experience using ChatGPT.
Sure.
Yeah, 2 days ago, I have visitor from outside Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
Then I need to present a slide regarding my company. All right. So I use the ChatGPT to help me with my slide to help me to prepare a text that's suitable, then can give impact to our visitor. And after the visit, the visitor very thankful and very understand what I present. So the ChatGPT really helped me to prepare the slide, the text, and because some of the information I cannot find it in the Google, but ChatGPT have the info. That's experience I want to share with you using the ChatGPT.
Was it your first time using ChatGPT?
I guess.
Okay, I think that's really, really great. And, you know, there was a lot of questions. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I'm so glad that, you know, you found it useful to your audience that you're presenting to. And I think this really speaks to, there were some questions coming in about, you know, do you have to be a technical expert? Do you have to learn how to use it? I promise you, I'm one of the most technologically challenged people in the world. I can't do anything, but ChatGPT is pretty straightforward. And thank you so much, Faisal, for sharing. I really love that you use it for the first time and you found value in it. So I think don't put any pressure on yourself. You know, it's just one search bar. So just type in a prompt and see what you get. And I think it's all about just, you know, familiarizing yourself with the kind of prompts that you get and like what kind of content it creates. Is it possible to use ChatGPT as a co-author in researches? I'm not an expert, but I would say no, only because it's not original content in that sense. And, you know, your research needs to be done and cited, and you can't cite ChatGPT because it's not original. Do I have a comprehensive cheat sheet and prompts? I don't, but, you know, I think, you know, maybe if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, maybe that's something I should do, if that's helpful for you, or I'm not quite sure if, FutureLab, do you share these slides with the team?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can share it.
Okay, tell you guys what, why don't you give me a couple of days and I'll add like some prompts to the deck, and then we'll email that to you, or we'll give it to you however FutureLab gives it to you. Would that be helpful for you? Yes. Okay, sweet. I will add some prompts. I'll do my best. It's actually very likely that I'll ask ChatGPT for the best ChatGPT prompts, but, you know, stay with me. Okay, sweet. Okay, while researching info, how reliable are the sources given by ChatGPT? Very unreliable, because so ChatGPT, when you look for a research paper, you can key in research on automation in the manufacturing sector, anything like that, and it will literally spit out the title and it will cite an author. But if you click on a link, it's likely not true. So I think you always need to kind of check your links. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that it hasn't worked for me in terms of research reports.
I
Hello,
think,
Marissa.
yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay, I'm not sure if you need to cut it off. FutureLab.me if we're done, but it's a great time.
That's fine. Marissa, I have a question. So we both work in the same industry. I'm a creative copywriter for a big conglomerate, and sometimes they ask for social media captions in bulk, and it's a lot of ad campaigns. You mentioned uh, in your discussion that we can have AI generated content campaigns. How does that work in terms of creating social media captions in bulk relating to, let's say, a Christmas promo or a summertime promo? How have you had any experience creating using ChatGPT for your social media content in bulk?
Okay, I'm going to be like 100% transparent with you, because I work like you know, the bulk of my work is in public relations, as in like thought leadership content and press materials. So I haven't actually run a campaign with ChatGPT. However, in preparation and doing research for this, so I've kind of tried creating mock campaigns, and it does work. That you need to like you need to establish your brand voice and you need to give it instructions. And I would say if you want to create bulk, I would suggest going in batches of 5, like 5 social media captions for this season, these details, this sale, like etc. etc. You can plunk in any kind of like, based on last year's, campaign success data or something. And if you have any published things, you can plug in the link. So that's probably how I would do it. And, I reckon do small batches, right? Because I find that if you are looking for captions that, and again, this is not me as a machine learning expert, it's just me as a humble user. I realized that if you ask for sort of more than 10 captions or things like that, you're not getting the variety that you would have hoped for because the prompt is the same. So what I would do is that I would kind of like change my prompt and always ask for kind of 5 captions, because every time you change the prompt, the input is different. So you get more variety. Does that make sense?
Yes, Marissa, that helped a lot. Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
So just to follow up on his question,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm not really into campaigns or anything, but I'm more of a copywriter or blog articles. But just out of curiosity, so when it says that you need to plug in the details, so just so that the bot will have something to go on.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that we just simply paste into the chat box the campaign from last year or the research data from last year or the information from last year, so that we'll have a campaign for a specific season that is more accurate or that is more leading into what you want to have?
Yeah, I think I've come across a lot of articles to help you with this, but I think generally I would break it into steps. So if you have, like research on last year's campaign, or if you have like some data on this, you can kind of like plonk it in and ask it to analyze what worked best, and based on what performed last year, then your next prompt is like, what kind of captions would you write, based on last year's success? And then once you have those, I would plonk in your kind of brand website and be like, ensure or like rewrite these to fit this brand voice link, right? So for me personally, and again, because I'm not like the super like master guru of ChatGPT prompts, I like to kind of be in control of every single step, right? So I would say do it in phases. First analyze your results, then generate your captions, and then check for brand voice. I have tried keying everything in as like one instruction in one set, but if it comes out wonky, I can't really identify where the issue is. So I think especially as you're trying out, just go by it step by step. I think it's worth investing the time. And if you eventually become, ChatGPT prompt genius, then like, holler at me and teach me how to do it, because I'm still like a step-by-step kind of person. But I think as you're learning, it always goes like this: key in your prompt, or, on a separate sheet, break down what do you need, what materials do you have, and what steps make the most sense. And then key in, the prompts one by one, because you can ask them to rewrite something or edit something based on the previous prompt, right? So if it spits out 5 captions, then you can be like, okay, rewrite this to fit this brand voice. So that's something how I would do it. Just make sure you're in full control of every step and every output.
Thank you for that.
No worries. I really hope that's helpful, you guys. Ooh, okay, I see a lot of questions, but I'm not quite sure how we are at time. But is there a way that they can kind of submit more questions? But I am a mentor. Let me reflect FutureLab. I am a mentor on a FutureLab platform. So you can have some like time with me if you want. You can just message them there. I'm happy to have a chat. And I'm so sorry that I have so many questions, but I love the discussion that's going on in the chat. I'm learning a lot as well. But I'll add some ChatGPT prompts, how-tos, and maybe tips to the slides, and then I can send that to you guys as well, okay?
Yeah, I think that's good. And also like we have like 6 more minutes to 9. So I guess we could have a group photo session first, so that whoever wanted to go first can go first. But if you guys wanted to, this 5 minutes want to maximize the usage of time, then you can do that. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I think that whoever can open up their camera, yeah, you guys can open up your camera for group photo. So probably we can say hi to each other. Hello everyone, it's nice.
See you. I love some of you smiling as you turn on the camera. You don't have to be shy. Just turn it on all the time. This is great.
Okay. It's quite a lot. Let me pick the first one first. Okay,
Dumanga,
one.
nakita ka sa likod. Nakita ka sa likod.
Okay, we are. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let me pick the second one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. I guess more people are joining us, opening up their camera. Okay, 1, 2, 3. The third one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think we're good. Yep. I will send also the group photo in the email later. Yeah, thank you everyone. If you guys have any other questions for Marissa, you guys can see. If not, thank you and have a nice day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Stay
Thank
connected.
you, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you to those in YouTube as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.